Get off my property. Those words, I never thought I'd have to say them to my own family, let alone on a day that should have been a triumph for me. But there they were, standing on my brand new driveway, the very property they swore I'd never own, looking absolutely dumbfounded. Was I wrong for shutting them out? Tell me honestly, would you have done the same thing after years of their relentless jabs and belittlement? It all started, I suppose, long before that fateful family dinner, years and years of a slow, steady drip of discouragement and outright mockery. My brother, Mark, was always the golden child. From the moment he could walk, he seemed destined for greatness in my parents' eyes. He excelled in school, effortlessly sailing through advanced classes, while I, on the other hand, struggled with subjects that didn't immediately click. I wasn't unintelligent, not by any stretch, but my learning style was different, and my passions lay elsewhere, in creative pursuits, and hands-on projects that didn't fit neatly into their academic mold. They never saw that, though. They only saw Mark's straight A's and my decent B's and C's, and the narrative was set. Mark was smart, Mark was successful, and I was just me. Their favoritism wasn't subtle. At every family gathering, every holiday, the conversation would inevitably pivot to Mark's latest achievement. His new promotion, his increasing salary, his meticulously planned vacations. My updates, when I even dared to offer them, were often met with a dismissive nod or a quick change of subject. If I spoke about my artistic endeavors, my parents would listen with a glazed-over expression before my mother would gently suggest, "That's lovely, dear. But have you thought about getting a more stable job? Something with benefits?" And Mark would always be there with a smirk, a condescending remark about how art doesn't pay the bills, or it's cute, your little hobby. The homeownership taunt started early too. Mark bought his first house in his mid-20s, a modest but perfectly respectable starter home. It was a huge source of pride for my parents, another feather in Mark's already overflowing cap. From that point on, it became a regular topic of conversation, usually directed at me. "When are you going to settle down?" "My name?" my father would ask, knowing full well I was trying to save, but always seemed to be fighting an uphill battle. "Mark's so responsible, he's got his own place. You should really think about your future." My mother would chime in, "Property is such a good investment. It's a shame you're not in a position to buy right now." They made it sound like a personal failing, a lack of ambition on my part, rather than the incredibly difficult financial landscape young people face today. I tried to explain, tried to make them understand that my path was different, that I was working towards my goals, just not their version of goals. I was freelancing, building up my portfolio, taking on various design and writing projects, often working long hours for uncertain paychecks. It was a hustle, but I loved the freedom, the creativity, the idea that I was building something for myself from the ground up. But they saw instability, they saw a lack of traditional success, and they equated that with failure. Mark, of course, reinforced their views, constantly reminding me how much he was contributing to his 401k, how his house was appreciating in value, always with that smug, knowing look that said, "See? I told you so." The family dinner in question wasn't just any dinner. It was Mark's 30th birthday celebration. My parents had pulled out all the stops, a lavish affair at their house, complete with catering and an open bar. From the moment I walked in, I could feel the familiar tension, the unspoken comparisons hanging in the air. Mark, naturally, was holding court, regaling everyone with stories of his latest achievements at work, his upcoming promotion, and how he was already looking at upgrading to an even bigger house. My parents beamed, their eyes practically sparkling with pride. When my turn came, as it eventually did, to give an update on my life, I tried to keep it brief and positive. I mentioned a few successful projects I'd completed, how I was saving up, and that I was actually quite happy with the flexibility my work offered. My mother smiled thinly and said, "That's nice, dear. But Mark was just telling us about this amazing new house he's considering. It's got a huge yard, perfect for entertaining. It reminds me, my name, when are you going to stop renting? It's just throwing money away, isn't it?" My father, never one to miss an opportunity to drive the point home, chuckled. "You'll never own a home like your brother, will you? He's got such a good head for business, for making smart investments. The words hung in the air, heavy and demeaning. It wasn't just a casual remark. It was a pronouncement, a definitive statement about my future, delivered with a dismissive wave of his hand. And then Mark. Oh, Mark. He leaned back in his chair, a glass of expensive scotch in hand, and that familiar smirk spread across his face. "She'll be broke forever," he drawled, loud enough for everyone at the table to hear, but directing his gaze squarely at me. "Always chasing those pipe dreams. Some people just aren't cut out for real responsibility, you know?" The laughter that followed, from my parents especially, was like a physical blow. It wasn't malicious laughter, not exactly, but it was the kind of laughter that comes from a place of genuine belief in what they were saying, a confirmation of their long-held narrative about me. It was the laughter of dismissal, of belittlement, of a complete lack of faith. They found my situation amusing, my struggles a punchline, my aspirations a joke. I felt a hot flush creep up my neck, my hands clenching under the table. For years, I had taken it, swallowed my pride, tried to rationalize their behavior. They mean well, I'd tell myself. They just want what's best for me. But in that moment, something inside me snapped. The years of quiet resentment, of feeling like a perpetual disappointment, bubbled to the surface. I looked at their faces, their eyes crinkling with amusement, and a sudden, fierce resolve hardened within me. I just smiled. It wasn't a happy smile, not a fake smile, but a quiet, almost imperceptible smile of understanding. A knowing smile. They had no idea what was coming. I excused myself shortly after, citing a headache, and left the party early. I didn't make a scene. I didn't lash out. I just left, and in the quiet of my car, driving away from their laughter, that smile remained. It was the smile of someone who had just decided to stop playing by their rules. The truth was, I hadn't been entirely forthcoming with my family about my financial situation. While they were busy assuming I was chasing pipe dreams, I had been diligently working, saving every penny, and making shrewd investments that had nothing to do with their traditional ideas of success. My artistic endeavors had started small, but over the past few years, one of my passion projects, a unique online platform for independent creators, had quietly started to take off. It wasn't an overnight success, but it had grown steadily, organically, reaching a point where it was generating a significant, consistent income. I had also been incredibly disciplined with my expenses, living frugally, saving diligently, and educating myself on real estate investment strategies that went beyond simply buying a single-family home in the suburbs. I had been secretly house hunting for months. Not for a small starter home like Mark's first place, but for something much more significant, something that represented a true investment and a space where I could finally feel truly independent and successful on my own terms. I had found it just a few weeks before that disastrous dinner. A stunning property, a sprawling acre with a beautiful, recently renovated house, complete with a separate studio space perfect for my creative work. It was everything I had ever dreamed of, and more. The deal had closed discreetly, and I had been planning to move in quietly, maybe tell them once I was settled. But after that dinner, after their cruel laughter and Mark's dismissive, "She'll be broke forever," my plans shifted. My quiet triumph was about to become a very public, very pointed statement. So that's the situation I was in, and I had to make a choice. Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have let it go, tried to rise above it? Or would you have, like me, felt that burning desire to show them exactly how wrong they were? 2 weeks after that dinner, I was finally moving into my new house. The last of the boxes were being unloaded from the moving truck. The sun was shining, birds were singing, and I was feeling an incredible sense of accomplishment and peace. I had a small crew of friends helping me, laughing, making plans for my housewarming party. It was a perfect day, the culmination of years of hard work and quiet determination. And then, a car pulled into my driveway. It was my parents' car. My heart gave a little jolt, a mixture of surprise and a familiar tension. They hadn't called, hadn't mentioned they were coming. My brother Mark's car pulled in right behind them. All three of them got out, looking around with open curiosity, their eyes scanning the large house, the manicured lawn, the big moving truck. My mother was the first to speak, her voice tinged with confusion. What's going on here, dear? Are you helping someone move? She looked at me, then at the house number, then back at me, her brow furrowed. My father's eyes were wide, and Mark, for once, didn't have that smirk on his face. He looked genuinely baffled. I said, my voice calm, betraying none of the swirling emotions within me. I'm not helping someone move. I times am times moving. Into times my times new house. The silence that followed was deafening. My parents exchanged a look. A mixture of disbelief and dawning realization. Mark's jaw actually dropped. His eyes darted from me to the house, then back again, trying to process what I had just said. Your new house? My father finally stammered, his voice hushed. But you said you were renting. You said you were still saving. I did, I replied, a small, knowing smile playing on my lips. And I was, saving and investing. While you all were busy laughing at my pipe dreams and assuming I'd be broke forever, I was building this. I gestured to the house, to the property around us. This is mine. All mine. My mother looked visibly shaken. But how? This is a beautiful house. My name. A very expensive-looking house. She sounded almost accusatory, as if I had somehow cheated to get it. Mark, recovering from his shock, finally spoke up, his voice tinged with a bitterness I hadn't heard before. This can't be yours. You can't afford something like this. You must be renting it. Who are you renting it from? The disdain was back in his voice, but it was laced with something else now. Envy. It's not rented, Mark, I said, my voice firm. I own it. Bought it cash, actually. Or rather, a very substantial down payment, and the mortgage is easily covered by my pipe dreams, as you like to call them. I saw the color drain from his face. My parents looked utterly flabbergasted. My mother, recovering slightly, tried to muster some enthusiasm. Well, darling, that's wonderful. Why didn't you tell us? We could have helped you move. The sudden shift in tone was jarring, from dismissive to overly sweet, almost as if she was trying to erase years of their behavior, with a single, saccharine statement. You could have, I agreed, my smile fading. But you were too busy laughing at me, weren't you? Too busy telling me I'd never own a home, that I'd be broke forever. I decided to keep it a secret, to prove a point. My father stepped forward, attempting a conciliatory tone. Now, my name. Don't be like that. We were just worried about you, that's all. We want what's best. No, I cut him off, my voice steady. You wanted me to be like Mark. You wanted me to fit into your predefined box of success. And when I didn't, you mocked me. You undermined me. You laughed at me. The tension in the air was thick. My friends, who had been quietly observing the scene, exchanged uncomfortable glances. This was my moment, the moment I had unknowingly been preparing for years. So, I continued, taking a step closer to them, my gaze unwavering. You see this house? This beautiful property? It represents everything you said I couldn't achieve. It represents all the hard work and dedication that you chose to dismiss. And right now, it's my sanctuary, my home, my space. I paused, letting the words sink in. And you, all three of you, are standing on it, uninvited. My parents looked bewildered, then hurt. Mark's face was a mask of anger and humiliation. What are you saying, my name? My mother whispered, her voice trembling. I'm saying, I stated, my voice clear and unwavering, that for years, you've treated me like I was less than, like I was a failure. You've openly mocked my choices, my dreams, my very future. And now that I've achieved something significant, something you deemed impossible for me, you show up here expecting a welcome, expecting to be celebrated. I shook my head slowly. Not today. Not ever again. On my terms. My father tried to interject. But we're your family. Family doesn't laugh at you. I countered, my voice rising slightly, the emotion finally breaking through my carefully constructed calm. Family doesn't tell you you'll never achieve anything. Family supports you, even if they don't always understand your path. You chose to be my critics, my detractors. You lost the right to be my family in that moment, at that dinner table when you laughed at me. I took a deep breath, the finality of my decision settling over me. So, I'm going to ask you one last time, very clearly. I looked directly at each of them, my gaze holding theirs. Get off my property. Now. My mother burst into tears. My father looked absolutely gutted. Mark, his face red with a mixture of rage and shame, opened his mouth as if to protest, but I just stared him down. He closed it again, his hands clenching into fists. They stood there for another long moment, the sounds of my friends still moving boxes in the background, a stark contrast to the heavy silence between us. Finally, my father gently took my mother's arm. Without another word, they turned and walked back to their car. Mark, after a final, venomous glare in my direction, followed them. They got into their cars, reversed out of my driveway, and drove away, leaving nothing but the lingering echo of their disbelief and my own quiet triumph. The aftermath was exactly what I expected. A flurry of angry texts from Mark, accusing me of being heartless and ungrateful. A series of tearful voicemails from my mother, begging me to reconsider, to understand that they only meant well. My father sent a long email, trying to justify their actions and express his disappointment in my unjustified behavior. I ignored them all. For the first time in my life, I felt truly free. The weight of their expectations, their judgments, their constant need to compare me to Mark had been lifted. The air in my new home felt lighter, cleaner, imbued with a sense of genuine peace and accomplishment. My friends, who had witnessed the scene, were incredibly supportive. They understood why I did what I did, having heard snippets of my family struggles over the years. They helped me celebrate my new home, not just as a house, but as a symbol of my independence and resilience. It's been months since that day. I haven't heard directly from my family. I've heard through extended relatives that they're still confused and hurt by my actions. Some of those relatives have even tried to mediate, urging me to reach out, to forgive and forget. But how do you forgive years of being systematically torn down? How do you forget the feeling of being laughed at by the very people who should have championed you? I often sit on my porch, looking out at the sprawling yard, at the beautiful house that is truly mine, and I reflect on that day. Was it harsh? Perhaps. Was it necessary? Absolutely. Sometimes you have to draw a hard line, not just for your own peace, but to finally teach people that their words and actions have consequences. They learned a very expensive lesson that day, one that went far, beyond the cost of my house. They learned that sometimes the broke forever person actually builds something incredible, something they never even bothered to see. So, like this video if you were on my side in this whole mess. Subscribe for more stories like this, where people finally stand up for themselves. And please, share your final thoughts on this whole situation in the comments section. I'll see you all in the next story.